Hey, good morning, everybody. I probably have used this chart more than anything because I try to give the visualization of the complete insanity of this global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme that's built off of debt and death, separation, scarcity, and sin. The ego magnifiers in this world of big buildings, big missiles, and big bank accounts has driven this world to the edge of insanity. I mean, we're so detached from ourselves, from humanity, from Earth, and from above that this is not. This is the Dark Ages. Like, I don't know if humanity's been more out of touch with nature than it is now, and this is coming to an end. This is not sustainable. It's not moral. It's not going to last. How does it end? That's the tough part, and that's what I've been exploring for a long time. But I think it's important for people to recognize just how large it is. I literally feel like I'm the only sane person in a thoroughly insane world, drunk on digital illusions of wealth. And the people that it benefits, like every single Ponzi scheme has some cunning guy at the top that's profiting off of a lie of separation, scarcity, and sin, that there's not enough to go around, that we have to get ours, we have to, try to control and manage, and every hour of every day try to, make more money, right? When the ultimate joke is they create it out of thin air. It's a form of control. It's a symbol. It's a hijacked humanity that they're all now on money. Like, I don't care what religion you are. You could be Muslim, Catholic, or whatever. At the end of the day, everybody's still bowing to God money, right? And a digital illusion of money at that. And it's created all sorts of wild, elaborate stories and schemes. The Social Security Ponzi scheme. Yes, give us, a few $100,000 and you can have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So you look at the Chicago teachers. I forget the statistic, but it was something like over the lifetime they contribute only 1% of the money that they're going to get back in retirement. Like, they sacrifice a few $100s throughout their career, putting it in, but the pensions that pay out millions of dollars, it's now obvious that Chicago and the whole world is like this. Chicago might be just the thing, but it's all going to end. That's my point. Everything that we know, every power structure, every bank account, every asset value, your own ego identifier is based off of this lie that money, this is a digital illusion, and that we've given this control to control our politicians, our corporations, our banking system, our religions, our consciousness. They've hijacked humanity with money. So I try to use this as an example that all of these quadrillions of dollars are wasted on feeding this system. That's it. It's a cancer. There's no benefit to this. There's benefit to the few that own and control the system, the billionaires, the trillionaires that own and control the system, but the rest of humanity, how much human potential has been suppressed because of this illusion? And when it comes to an end, it's going to hit everybody hard. So I voluntarily have been on this journey for way over 10 years, over a decade, exploring all the different facets that create this. And every video, every coin design that I do is another exploration of, well, how does this end? How can it end? What's a better way? And one of the first things that I had to do was I had to fix this Exeter's pyramid, because this was originally designed by a guy who worked for the Federal Reserve. Of course, his worldview is central banking, and that can't be any other way. And one thing I noticed, that because he's a central banker, because the Rothschilds and all these banking families originally started with owning control of gold or diamonds or real tangible assets, they then leveraged that gold into all these digital illusions of wealth. First, by demonetizing gold and silver as money. Then they replaced it with fiat money, debt-based money. Then that builds up all these Ponzi schemes in the stock market and the bond market and the valuations of everything else. And then they get a vig off of every single thing else out there, to the point where the banking sector, which should be a zero profit center for humanity, like we should not be charging interest, usury, any of this stuff, has now become the global thing where the biggest buildings in the cities most often are banks. This is our religion. This is a value structure that humanity has put on, pumping up banksters. It hasn't always been like this. And ironically, the pyramid that's used is the opposite of where we're going. So I've used this Exeter's pyramid to show how money flows down from the most risky, least liquid assets in times of crisis down to the most safest, most liquid form of money, which goes down from, in this chart, derivatives to private business and real estate, which I know for a fact you could have a $45 million business one night and it's worth zero the next because there's no buyers. You know, when times turn, those markets become most illiquid and you're stuck with the debt. Then you have the stocks. Uber lost, I think, $5 billion last quarter. Like, how is that even possible if not for a fraud? Government bonds, I think there's $14 trillion of negative interest rate bonds out there. Like, why wouldn't you own gold at that point? If you have to pay money to have a digital illusion sit in there, why wouldn't you just own some gold and silver? This is why we're entering the golden age, the silver age of real tangible wealth, because there's no way out for these guys. They have to print money. That's it. They have to print more money. They cannot call it QE. They cannot call it, inflation. They can do all this other stuff. They're going to keep jigging the economy to benefit those that own and control the system. The stock market may go up another 10,000, folks, right? By spring. Like, they're just going to juice this because they have no other thing. That's the crack up boom. When it reached peak insanity, what if the stock market doubled in 6 months from where it is? It's a possibility. It's all a matter of zeros, right? If they know that they're going to devalue the currency, then it makes sense that the limited amount of stocks, which is they're using as that, is going to go up in value. The problem is, and the warning is, that they cannot guarantee their purchasing power.
Do you still believe that we should maintain the fundamental principles of Social Security as you did in 83?
I think we should maintain the principles of Social Security, but I think the existing structure is not working. And that until we can construct a system which creates the savings that are required to build the real assets so that the retirees have real goods and services, we don't have a system that's working. We have one that basically moves cash around, and we can guarantee cash benefits as far out and at whatever size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power. And this is why the issue ultimately has got to be resolved in terms of, do we have the material goods and services that people will need to consume, not whether or not we pass some hurdle with respect to how legal financing occurs, because the financing is a secondary issue, and it's the means to create the real wealth, not an end in itself.
And that goes back, I think.
Yes, the stock market may double in nominal terms, but it might lose 99% of its value if the currency that it's been measured in is destroyed. This is why you need to own gold and silver. And I don't even like gold at this point, because relative to silver, it's vastly overvalued. There's an estimated 3 to 6 times more physical gold above ground than there is silver. Silver is the second most versatile commodity in the world, next to oil. Oil that funded the debt and death paradigm. If we were not based off of an oil-based economy, if we actually used Nikola Tesla's free energy, we wouldn't be in this position. We would actually have created a sacred and sustainable, meaningful way of life that we actually can attune to more natural things, because there's abundance all around us. We are the ones that create scarcity on a personal level and on humanity. So I've modified this. I put in silver at the tip of Exeter's pyramid as the most liquid form of money throughout all time in history. It has been most used form of money throughout all time in all history. I could take a silver coin at any point in human society and buy food. It has value. Real tangible value, not a digital illusion of value. You can't do that with a $100 bill. You can't even go everywhere in the world. Russia right now is saying, hey, we don't want your dollar bills. China is doing that. That's a reality. Much less go back in, hundreds of years ago. Silver, Back to the Future, you can travel with that time. That's real wealth. That's the point of this. So I said, okay, well, Exeter's pyramid might collapse, but I'm not so sure that we're going to build another Ponzi scheme at the other end of this. If all the values and all the structures and there's so much pain, why would we set about enabling the worst in humanity to do worse with a crypto mark of the beast that tracks, traces, and tax and traps all of humanity onto a digital ledger that they then control? You think times are tough now. Wait until they get this next thing. So I'm a belief that these guys are going to be running. They're personally, financially, criminally. You look at this whole Epstein thing. We are an awakening humanity, and I'm trying to awaken humanity to say no more to this. No more. We don't have to live in separation, scarcity, and sin. We can have one abundant love, but it starts with the values that we create in our world. This world may be screwed up, but our world doesn't have to be. You can be upset about the Federal Reserve and fiat money. Put yourself on a silver standard. You're free of it. Not only free of it, they actually help you. The longer they hold this down, the more value you can stack. They're going to die. This is all going to end. They're enabling you. And yet here I sit, begging people to go out and consider buying some physical silver. You guys are the insane ones. You guys go to work, sacrifice all this time and energy to have digital illusions of wealth sitting in your bank account that in a rigged game, you'll never win. You'll never create equity, growth, or anything. You'll just barely make it by. The only thing that I can see for the average person is, number one, starting your own business and doing your own passion so that you can do your own thing and, be rewarded the way that you should. That's what I did. I gave up millions of dollars to go pursue this crazy-ass process. It's the only other way. Short of doing that, and I don't recommend that because it came at a tremendous physical, emotional, tremendous toll. And I think that there's going to be enough of that when the economy collapses. So I don't recommend people doing that. If you can create some wealth on the side, some side business, some other things to start diversifying your income stream, that's great. I think the best thing for the average person right now is to recognize that the world is screwed up, that you do not want counterparty risk on any asset. If you have a mortgage on your house, you should not own stocks. You either should pay off your house or do what I did and leave the debt, knowing that in a hyperinflation, that debt becomes worthless, and stack silver. I have way more silver than I do the dollar value of my mortgage. I could pay it off, but I don't, because I know at some point a few ounces of silver is going to go up in value, and the value of that debt's going to become worthless to the point where a few ounces of silver should, theoretically, in a hyperinflation like in Venezuela, pay off my mortgage, something that I never thought I would ever pay off. And that's where the switch comes. And that's why I think Exeter's pyramid is wrong going forward. And that's why I came up with the Silvershield pyramid, which is only available at the Silvershield group. This is why I closed it down, folks. I closed down the Silvershield group because I know that we're coming to the end where, people who either get it or don't. I wanted some demarcation of people who said, hey, I got Chris when he was probably most craziest. When I believed in what he was saying, despite nothing showing up. Silver's still $17, $18. It hasn't gone to $1,000 or anything like that. They believed in this stuff. And I know that I know I'm on the right path. I wouldn't be doing this. So I created that. And then in Access Monday, I have a whole nother group of people who are going through the same conscious exploration that I went through. Because this is not about physical silver. This whole thing is about consciousness. What are we supporting in our lives? And I'm telling you, if you have a career, if you're watching TV, if you're voting in the next election, if you bank, if you gamble, if you do any of these things, you're enabling this paradigm to persist. That's why it's taking so long. And that's why when people wake up, they go, oh, doom's going to happen in 6 months because I see that the whole world's an illusion. And then it doesn't show because there's 7 other billion people out there who simply just don't see a different way of life. And I hope that through my work and through all these other people and the awakening that is going on, that people do start seeing it. And I'm a firm believer that people will believe it and see it when they're finally met with the consequences of what they've actively or passively, unconsciously or consciously supported ends. That's when this paradigm ends. You'll be amazed. You'll think that, how could we have lived like that? And it won't take long because it's all based off of lies. It's just like the man behind the curtain with the Wizard of Oz. You start to realize that there's nothing to be afraid of. We enabled them. And in the end of The Wizard of Oz, what did Dorothy have to do? Click her silver shoes and go home. Well, that's what we need to do. Click our silver shoes and go home. But to what? So I view this next collapse as a global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi collapse, one in which humanity should not, could not, and I don't think will go to the next level of insanity with all these crypto, global, central, mark of the beast, whatever the hell they think that they're going to plan. I think that we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting and be like, no, enough of this war, enough of this stuff. We followed you leaders in religion, politics, titans of industry, CEOs. Nobody saw this coming because they're all benefiting off of it. They wouldn't, even if they did see it coming. I know men. If they think that they're on the benefit of a shitty deal, they're gonna allow it to happen. And one of the best cartoons I saw was a pawn talking to the king, and the pawn going, one day I'll keep working, I'll be king. And then the king says to himself, you keep working so I remain king. That's the fucking problem. You keep enabling them with their digital illusions of wealth, praying that somebody's going to come save you. You give up your power. So by taking your power back, recognizing that the world is screwed up, but your world doesn't have to be, putting yourself on a silver standard, that's what these things are about. And I think Silvershield is even going to be more valuable than silver, because who else has been talking about this stuff? Much less in the form of the silver that's going to save you from it. So I came up with Silvershield's pyramid as a visualization of what I would like to see happen, and I hope that if other people start seeing it that way, it will happen, because that's all this is. Stories that we want to tell ourselves. If we want to tell ourselves stories of separation, scarcity, and sin, debt and death, saviors, good guys and bad guys, guess what, folks? That's exactly the story you're going to get. I'm tired of that story. I want to be my own savior. I want to see a world that works with humanity, works with nature, and works with the cosmos. And that's where I came up with the design. So we can have all these digital illusions of wealth, and I had to add crypto in there as the worst of the digital illusions of wealth, because this is even a digital illusion of wealth that even the power money people don't like. And it's the most liquid, and they will make it illegal, tax the hell out of you, track, trace, and destroy every... I'm so glad I never touched one single crypto. I do not care if I missed a $840 billion Ponzi scheme, right? I didn't benefit off of the greedy fools out there buying into an illusion of wealth. No, I was the last guy in the whole silver community still pounding the table, challenging you guys. Wake up. So I believe that we're going to go down this Exeter's pyramid, destroy all the values of everything, and it's not just going to be assets, it's going to be power structures. Like, federal government will seem like the Soviet Union when it's collapsing. Like, they'll be inept to do anything. Massive problems. Local communities like Chicago simply won't have the resources. They gave it all to their retired teachers at $2 million a pop. They can't do anything for the actual people who are there, who need help. Created a whole different class of oligarchs that, live and travel. For what? Look at what's left behind. A devastated financial community. So I believe that we're going to have all these digital illusions of assets collapse to zero, right? Worthless. And out of that, it's not the end. It's just the beginning of something else. What do you begin with? I can't think of anything else other than silver. What is the form of money that everybody throughout all time in history has always accepted? An extreme. Silver. It's been used as money more than anything else. But we've fallen into their trap of digital illusions of wealth. We allowed them to get away with demonetizing it. We stopped saving in it. That's the reason why silver's down. A few millionaires could turn this whole market around just by buying physical silver, recognizing that the digital illusions of wealth that you have, whether it's real estate, all these other stocks and all that other stuff, it's worth nothing until you exchange it for something. You could have $10 million in a bank account right now. It doesn't do you physically any good until you change it into labor, services, and goods. That's when it becomes real wealth. Now, you can consume all that stuff, with drugs and hookers and, gambling or whatever you want to do. Or you could invest it into sacred, sustainable living, Why do we have mortgages on our houses? So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have the collapse in all these digital illusions of wealth, and anybody who's got physical silver will be able to go buy land, will be able to exchange, a few ounces of silver for a few ounces of gold as the gold to silver ratio collapses. You'll be able to transfer gold or silver into, I believe, a allodial title. This is a very big factor in getting to the other side. I believe that governments are going to be loaded with a bunch of debt or a bunch of land that they're going to literally give away because they need capital. They have all this unproductive land. So anybody coming in after the fact, when all these houses have been foreclosed upon for lack of tax payments or whatever reason, abandoned properties. Maybe the states can't even handle, maybe the federal government can't even handle the national parks anymore, and that they're forced to sell all this land. I mean, west of the Mississippi, the federal government owns almost all the land anyways. So I would like to be the guy there with a few ounces of silver going, yeah, I'll take that national park off you. I have a community. I have people who can do this. We'll set about creating things. But we want it so that you can't tax us. So whether I have to create a religion, whether I write some agreement, I will own property tax-free. And there you can start building the sacred, sustainable, conscious community that I think we all want. I think silver stackers are probably the most romantic people out there. Because we're hoping and praying for a better life, despite everything saying no. And I'm out there doing the same thing. I know plenty of other people are. But I hope this helps change your perception of how you operate in this world and what you empower. This is all your story. You can become a victim or a hero. Be your own king or be a slave with limited thoughts. Trash talking. Like, I can't believe the amount of shit that I still get. I don't care. I've gone through the worst. I've been challenged. I know what it's like. It was hard going through this 10 years on my own in a functioning economy. I pray for everybody. Because when this all goes down, y'all ain't ready. You're not. You're not physically ready. You're not financially ready. You're not mentally ready. And you're not spiritually ready. But I'll be doing my thing. I enjoy this. I love all of you. I hope everybody's got to win. That's the other thing I want to leave you with. Everybody's got to win. The opposite of separation, scarcity, and sin is everybody's got to win. And I think this collapse is going to break down a lot of egos, finally get people to admit that what they have been doing was wrong. Pilots flying Predator drones, me as an infantry military man, after 9/11, I mean, I'll never say that war is an answer, And that's what it's going to take. We just need to stop enabling the worst in humanity with our careers, our votes, our views, our money in the bank, and start enabling us. Save until it hurts. Save until it happens. And that's where I think silver is going to be. And I think Silvershield already is going to be worth, I don't know, like sacred treasure. Like, oh, you were part of these guys that actually saw what nobody else saw, right? When the whole world was living off a quadrillion-dollar empire of lies, that their whole consciousness has been hijacked into the worst of humanity. No wonder everybody's upset. No wonder everybody's, detached from themselves. This isn't how we're supposed to live. What else in our natural world is so out of balance with itself? Cancer. That's all I can think of. And that's where we're living, in the dark age of humanity, where we're most separated from ourselves, our humanity, our earth, and our consciousness. And I believe that this collapse is our opportunity to create that. I know it is for me. I hope it is for you. And I hope that if enough people listen to me, go through this, and we can actually start building positive, productive solutions, conscious individual solutions to all of these unconscious collectivist problems, we can change the whole world around in a generation. It's not tough. It's just a matter of changing enough people's perspective. The 99th monkey, the 144,000, prophets or whatever it is, just enough to show people, hey, you don't have to be a scumbag to be rich, right? You can actually live a moral and uplifting life and drive Teslas and fly all around the world and do crazy things. if you release what's inside of you and stop enabling the worst in humanity. So I know I went on long, but I feel like I wanted to get that out. I love everybody. This is only available at the Silvershield group, so you probably have to find it through eBay, but it's still available now for the Silvershield group. I highly recommend. This is going to be one of those very influential designs that I think many, many years from now, people are going to be like, oh, wow, this is worth a lot, because I introduced a new idea on how humanity could go on a little silver bar that will be around for thousands of years. So somewhere a part of this human story, this strike is going to be, injecting itself into there. And I think that's how we actually turn this around and then enter a golden age of humanity. Get out of this darkness.